Hey folks, how are you doing? It's Sven back again. And today I will show you something that's long promised, and this video is scale madness. So what to play on chords in Gypsy jazz. So we start with the major chord. So let's say you have a G major chord, or as Gypsy jazz players would play a G major 6 chord in tonic or subtonic position. So I'm not talking about the voicings. If you don't know the Gypsy jazz voicings, check out my lessons, proper chords too. There's a series where I teach the proper chords to a lot of Gypsy jazz standards. So to play the G chord right in the solo, the first thing we need to know is the triad. So you play the triad, only the triad notes, but not only by remembering their positions and playing the shape, but also by singing along the note names. You start on the G, B, D, G, B, D, G, B, even to that B, probably, or only to that G. It's not about that, it's about the notes. You really should know where the notes are. G, D, B, G, D, B. So the next thing you do is you play the same notes, but you have a chromatic approach to each one. Like, this is a great thing to do because it sounds very typical Gypsy jazz. You can even make a lick out of that one, like. So I hope you understood it. Very simple. Playing all the arpeggio notes like G, B, D, G, B, D, G, and then use the note right before that note, like F sharp G, C sharp D, B flat B, F sharp G, C sharp D, B flat B, F sharp G. So the next thing you do is focusing on different sounds. One sound that's already in the chord is the major 6 or the natural 6 of G, which is E. When you add an E note to the G arpeggio, you get actually the same sound than E minor 7. But with the G chord underneath, it sounds like G6. And you probably heard of that before. But it's about noticing where the notes are again. So we already got this G, B, D, G. So the E would be here. G, B, D, E. And then you continue like G, B, D, E. And the same way, of course, all along the fretboard, as soon as you're sure about the notes in one position, you learn it in 5 positions, in 4 positions, or 5 positions, depending how many option notes you will use in your chord. But it's really about getting close to the fretboard, learning all the note names, learning also where the functions are. You know, really like you hear a G and you see like ba-da, and realizing that this is the E and how to play it. Da, da, da. Like third mean. Stuff like that, you know? My banding was sloppy before. So now the E makes it G6 or E minor 7, like G, B, D, E, G, B, D, and G. And this is how this is my approach to the G chord. So the next one would be the major 7, which is F sharp. So again, you play the triad, but enrich it with the F sharp. That would be like this. Again, singing along the note names like F sharp G, B, D, F sharp G, B, D, F sharp G. The fingering really doesn't matter. A Gypsy jazz player would probably use like middle finger, index, middle, index, ring, middle, index, and then index, index. But it doesn't matter, you know, the classical position would be with index, middle finger, index, pinky, ring finger, pinky, ring finger, middle finger, index, middle finger. But I recommend using the strong fingers more because that's typical for Gypsy jazz. So again, it's about, you know, also realize the sound of the major 7 so that you get this that you can make use of it and use it as a sound. So now a very important interval, a very important option note is the 9. It also happens in the G6 9 chord that's often played in gypsy jazz, you know. The 9 would be an A, like here or here. So you do the same thing, finding out all the 9th. So the first one is pretty easy. You got like G, A, and then you continue with the triad. G, A, B, D, wa ba da 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 da, wa ba. Again. Like that. You know, and again singing along, like G, A, B, D, G, A, B, D, G, A, B, A, G, D, B, and so on. A, G, D, E, A, G. Once you got that and figured out all these sounds, you try to build little lines that emphasize these notes. And let me say one thing here, if you follow till here. Of course, all these notes can be found in the G major scale, and that's absolutely fine. But when you play the G major scale alone, of course, all the notes are contained, but you see it as a kind of fingering. Guitarists, when they learn scales, just like fingerings, no note names, no sounds, just a fingering. And this is not a thing, you know, I don't say ho ho ho, because I did that myself when I was a teenager. It's so fast, you know, you're always looking, what you want to have is a solution of learning 5 fingerings and being able to play pretty good through all the changes. But unfortunately that doesn't exist. You need to know how the different sounds, you know, enrich the chord to really make use of their flavors. So of course in the G scale all these notes are included. But of course there is the C in there too. The C is kind of an avoid note if you want to stop on it on G. Of course you can make use of any avoid note, you know, when you have a G chord, you end up on a C, you can make a melody of it like. But this is like, you know, you again, it's not a note of the scale, then I really know this is the C note and I gotta release it to the B. And if I play the right rhythm and stuff, I can make use of the C, but actually it's an avoid note and a note that you don't want in your chord. So the scale might be fine to practice it, but you need to know how the notes sound and how they react to the G chord. So that's why I start with the triad and then make up all these intervals. If you, for example, put 2 intervals in one chord, like the 9 and the 6, like you can find it here in this G6 chord, then it would be an E minor pentatonic or a G major pentatonic. But it sounds completely different if you know how to make use of the notes. Like it would be like these G, A, B, D, E, and then of course the octave, like G, A, B, D, E, G. And now here is how to make music with that. Gather all the notes and then figure out a small spot on the fretboard. For example, this high G triad up here with like B, D and G. And now you try to play something with all these things, like the chromatic approach, the chromatic approach with the 9, the approach with the 6, all that stuff, the 7, and then build some lines with it. For example, a very cliche thing is starting on the D and then phrasing the E like that. So you start on the D, play E, slide back to the C sharp, which is the chromatic approach. This is not the sharp 11. The difference is you call it raised 11 or sharp 11 once you use this note as a long note to produce the sound of that chord. When you play it only short and other notes are important, then it's just the chromatic note, you know, and doesn't really stick out like a sharp 11, like a raised 11. That's the difference. So here it's just like a little note in the phrasing. Back to the 5. So you start on the D, then to the E, back to the 5, and then you go back to the 6 and play the triad downwards. This is also possible with the 9. And now you mix all this stuff on the G. This is how you build your lines, basically. Of course, when you play faster and longer lines, you got to extend that, you know, start on the 6th string. But in first place, it's about learning the note names. And this is really crazy important. And all of the things that I did now were in the G major scale. But this is the right way how to approach it. From the triad, using chromatic, using the 6, using the 9, using the major 7. And so, like, you know, building up your knowledge step by step. So this is the way that I think it should be done. And of course it works the same with minor chords, with diminished chords, with all that stuff. And so you learn part 1 of how gypsy jazz note material can be achieved, or jazz note material can be achieved, like by playing from chord to chord. And once you realize how that works, and once you really know your notes good, you can start with higher goals, like, you know, focusing on a melody that's, you know, leading to the chords without, without being related to the chords too much. Because of course, if you only play the chords from chord to chord, you know, it sounds like you're playing chords, and it might not sound like you're playing melody. But the worst thing is picking up scales and playing scale patterns. Nothing wrong about scales. I mean, we're inside the scale. But once you start playing like, it sounds like nothing, you know, because you're not really with the notes, and it's just like an exercise. And this is the basic beginner's problem. I had them too, like almost every guitarist. And this is the thing you got to work your way through to achieve higher knowledge of the fretboard. So for today, I will keep it with that major chord. If you want to hear the same example with the minor chord, please tell me. I will surely upload a video also with the minor chord. But for now, just stick to it and try in one position to figure out all the note names. This is, by the way, also how you learn the fretboard, of course. So I hope you liked that lesson. If yes, subscribe to my channel. There's plenty of material, plenty of lessons, also great performances by really great players of our styles. I invite a lot of well-known guests to my couch, and it was a pleasure to teach you. So see you. Bye.